was at Colerain this morning, and it's really Miami South. You
Yeah,
have
that's awesome.
four commits
Yeah.
from that school, and that school, obviously, the toughness that they have. In particular, Ivan Pace was kind of a late get. I think it's maybe one of the guys you
Yep.
stuck with. What is it about him? He's Division I Defensive Player of the Year. What was it about him that maybe some teams overlooked? Is it his undersized?
I don't know. I don't know. It's probably his height. I mean, that's the only thing. You can't watch him as a football player and not think he's. I knew he was a great defense player. I saw him play live against Lakota East this year, and I was like watching a game like he played tailback for us. Like at that point, like I knew he was a great high school tailback, but I didn't even envision. But when I saw him live explode and make cuts, I'm like, that's just a big old good Division I tailback too. Like, and I know he had 1,400 yards, but I wasn't even then. Obviously the way he runs and hits on defense. You have him and Luke together as two high school linebackers, and like Luke's kind of bigger, probably not quite as quick as I am, but they're both, when they hit you, it's like not fun to play against Colerain this year, like for many reasons. But those two guys, like so many hits on their highlight tapes are just like highlight reel hits, and you feel bad for the guy on the other side. Really, you do. You're like, so just the physicality, and I would say it's probably his height would be the only thing, because you can't. I don't know how you could argue against anything he's done on a football field. Obviously, he's Division I defense player in the state of Ohio, and this is an incredibly great football state. That's a tough award to get. So, and then like you mentioned, just the toughness you get from Colerain. Obviously, you know the program. I know the program very well. Like those kids, from the day they start their feeder programs, it's not even in high school. Like you don't go to Colerain unless you want it to be incredibly challenging every day. And their 7th and 8th grade they know what they're getting themselves into, and it's so. If you like old school football, it's a very fun place to hang out, which I do love old school. So you get kids from there, and then Rusty and Sincere are, we think, high-end guys too. I think Rusty's a late blooming kid. I don't think if you watch Rusty as a sophomore, you think Division I offense lineman. But again, we stayed with him and we watched his progress, and we know a bunch of people down there, like a bunch of people. And, there's some coaches outside of Coach Bolin that know what the heck's going on. And they're like, I'm telling you, that kid's coming. We got a heads up before we even started liking Russ, like he's coming, like I'm telling you. And then sure enough, he was coming. And then obviously Sincere's a special athlete. So getting 4 kids out of there that are legit guys, it's pretty awesome year for us. And obviously they always have great teams, but they had a really, really good football team, and they didn't necessarily have that Alabama kid this year, so it was perfect for us.
Coach, this is year 2 of the early signing period. Do you feel now that it's kind of you're in the flow of it, is it helpful for your team? Is it helpful for your staff to have this early signing period?
Yeah, we love it. I love it. I wish it was August 1st or September 1st. I'll argue that. All the kids, these kids and families spend so much time, energy, and money during January through August to make a lot of kids commit in the summer. Let them sign, and they don't have to sign, but let them sign if they want to. But this helps. Kids right now don't have to wait another 6 weeks. It's great for high school coaches, like we were talking about on the show earlier. High school coaches, we don't have to go in there and bombard them for the next 3 weeks in January, seeing all these committed kids. We can focus on juniors, and they can let us focus on juniors. These kids can go back just being like, a lot of these kids are playing other sports, but we're coming in and we're visiting them every week in January and going to their bat, like just let them be high school seniors, which they can, and let them be high school students, which they can, And then we know, like we had all these kids verbally committed, but you don't know until they send that dang NLI. And so now we know we got them, and we don't have to wait till last minute of February. And, I'm sure some kids didn't sign today that people thought. I'm sure there's some schools that dropped some kids that they didn't thought, but at least there's a little time now. They got another 6-7 weeks to find a new home if they, for whatever reason they didn't want to sign, or somebody didn't want to sign them. So I think there's a lot of good. I wish it was before their senior year, and maybe keep this one too. I don't know, but it's been good. And I can go to Christmas, and at least I got 29 commits and they're signed. And not that I wouldn't enjoy Christmas, but I'm just like, my wife was like, I told Bake, like, God, I love this early sign day, because she knows over Christmas I got 29 committed kids. Like, it never ends. Not that we can be on the road today, but it's constant. What's happening? Who talked to who? You're not going over Christmas not talking to these kids. Now I don't have to call Luke Bolden. I may, because I like talking to Luke, but I don't have to. Because he's signed on the dotted line. So do 28 other kids. So we love it for sure, and I think it's good for our league.
Coach, with Pace, you mentioned at 6 foot that maybe some teams were looking at the height or whatever, but I look at Brad Koenig, who just had a heck of a year for you, and I don't think he was all all that tall
No.
itself, right?
No. And again, it's, we're talking about Drew Brees, we're talking about Gabbert, the quarterback we have in this class that's 6 foot, and I was glad, like I said, I was glad he's 6 foot because I think that deters some people away from Brett Gabbert. I really do. I think he's, and that's the way it goes. And I learned a long time in Division II. I coached 10 years in Division II, so we weren't getting the pick of the litter. And we were getting, and it was, the kids had something. He wasn't tall enough, he wasn't fast enough, he wasn't this enough, he didn't play at this school. And we had over 35 guys making it into NFL camp. So at the end of the day, they were good enough. They were good enough to play anywhere. If you're making an NFL camp, you could play at Alabama. Not just that you could play Division I, you could play anywhere. We have, like I said, I still got 2 kids in the NFL. I haven't been there in 9 years, and I still got 2 kids playing in the NFL. So obviously those kids could have played anywhere. The kids are 10, 11-year vets in the NFL, but there was always something a matter with them, and it wasn't that they couldn't play. It was they ran a bad 40 time. They were too light. They were too this. So we're all, we like to have them all 6'6", 300 pounds that run 4.40. Those are the easy ones to evaluate, It's fun to coach in Notre Dame for 4 years. Evaluation was, we're all recruiting the same guys. It wasn't the evaluation wasn't a big deal. Like, we're all recruiting these top 100 players that this kid's a freak of nature. Okay, it's not hard to say we want to offer him, But as you go down levels, then it's like evaluation makes a difference, and hopefully, some years you're better than others, but you're trying to find those kids that, hey, I think he is as good as any program in the country, but for whatever reason they're passing up, and then you try to jump on them, and I'm hopeful that Pace and there's other kids in this class that are the same way that I think could probably play at any level of football.
Coach, with Brett Gabbert coming in as a quarterback, were you able to get any kind of a feel? You said he could throw the football, and were you able to get any kind of a feel for whether he had a real good sort of extra insight, given his brother was
he seems to have really good instincts. He's not thrown as much as they've thrown the ball, and I know they're really good, and they got good other players at CBC, but he hasn't thrown many picks. Like, there's usually kids that throw a lot of touchdowns and don't throw picks and throw a high percentage, and you be around him. I've seen him play basketball. Is he going to play for Jack anytime soon? No, but he's got a good natural, you can just tell athletes that have a good natural feel. He's got a good natural feel for athletics in general, and then obviously it seems like there's good quarterback bloodlines there, so he seems to be a really good decision maker. You don't know exactly until you get him here, but he's unflappable. He's played in big games in high school. He's traveled and played in Nashville and played different places. So he's been through a lot more than a lot of high school quarterbacks as far as pressure. And, it's funny, his brother's a little bit older, but, it's never been a deal like with him. Like, sometimes it's always like he doesn't even seem like he has a chip on his shoulder that, he's got to live up to his brother. To me, he's really confident. He's his own guy. He's crazy proud of his brother. But a lot of the younger brother of the great players always trying to prove their, and then he doesn't have the height of his brother, but it's just him. It's never, ever come up. He's just completely comfortable and completely confident in who he is and his ability. And so he seems to be a special kid. Like I said, you never know. Quarterback's so hard. Till you line him up in a game and there's 21 other people coming at him, you really don't know what you have. You know the raw materials, but you don't know until you line them up.
Coach, when you first got here, depth, shall we say, was a bit of an issue. And
starters were an issue. Depth wasn't even a concern because we were trying to find 22 good starters. So you guys were worried about depth. I was frightened at the people we put on the field.
With this year, you had to draw on depth with some of the injuries and everything. And as you went down the stretch, some of those people stepped up for you. How do you feel about this class of being able to help out since you lost so many?
Yeah, they're going to have to. Like we said, they're going to have to. There's going to have to be guys that at least ST and 2 deep, if not play more than 2 deep, for sure. I mean, I know in the secondary there's going to be kids in our 2 deep whether they like it or not. I think there's some young receivers going to be in our 2 deep whether they like it or not. So I think when you lose that many seniors like we did this year, even though a lot of them we lost to injury, there's still holes to fill. But this year was awesome. Like I said, I think I told Baker, I think a lot of the kids that played down the stretch and played really good, I felt like we're going to be really good players. I wasn't sure they were ready to be really good players right now, but it's amazing when you got to get pushed out there how quickly some of those kids grew up in a hurry when they realize that, okay, it's me or nobody else, and the team's counting on me and I got to go play. So very proud of the depth we've developed, but I think, like you said, this is a key because you lose all those guys. You got to have some guys that are maybe more ready to play younger and contribute.
think 24/7 has your class as the second best in the conference. You're ahead of some Power 5 schools. Do you pay attention to what the national prognosticators think about what
Yeah,
you've
I mean,
done?
we do because we'll use it to our advantage in recruiting. I mean, off the record, which I know this isn't off the record. Do I care? No. But on the record, which I know this is on the record, if it's a positive, we're going to use it. We were 19th at one point last summer, and we knew we were going to end up 19th, but we had 19 commitments, and everyone else had like 8. So it's hard forever to be a MAC school and at some point be in the top 20 in recruiting at any point in the recruiting process. And you have to have good players to do that. So no, we're excited about the class. We're excited about the rankings. I'll be more excited when they put pads on here, and I know I got good football players. That's when I'll be most excited. But yeah, no, we'll use that. And we've been ranked. This class has been ranked the whole way. And again, you're trying to build this from where we were to the top of the league, and we've been competing with the top teams in the league. And you better be recruiting, in the top 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 classes every year if you want to stay in the top of the league. So it does matter. Is it do I get caught up in the rankings? No, because there'll be kids I know that I think higher than other. You know what I mean? There's some kids that are highly ranked this class, and I think very deserved. There's other kids that aren't ranked as high that I'm not sure aren't better than some of the other kids. So, because again, ranking's so much about your early days. If you're a late blooming kid, if you have a great sophomore year, your ranking will probably stay with you. You know what I mean? Or if you have that really great junior. But if sometimes you play in a better program, you don't get to play as a sophomore. Say you go to Colerain, and they play some stuff. But it's harder at the better programs. Gus Rogan didn't play till senior year, so he's not even going to have a ranking. Doesn't mean he's not a really good player. He won the state title senior, but he was a backup as a junior. So how high is the backup quarterback? So I just think some of the kids, their rankings sometimes are lower because they got on the scene. But then you watch your senior tape and you're like, he's a guy right now, and he's as good as this kid. But that kid was probably a little bit better as a younger age. So
to bring in a guy like Dylan McCullough II, when his dad played here, and sort of the story that family has had.
It's awesome.
I mean, kind of walk me through that process, recruiting him and then finding out about that.
Yeah, we'll start with the story. The story is like one of the most. I mean, it's a Disney movie that you wouldn't believe. It's based on true story. No, it is a true story. It's insane story, like unbelievable. Makes you cry when you like the whole. And just if you knew the people and how good the people were involved, like quality of human beings, it just makes a story, which a lot of the people here know the people involved, makes the story even 10 times more incredible. Dylan's recruitment, and we were careful because I've been down this road with the alums kid, and it's unfair to Dylan the second. I hate even talking about Sherman Smith, who's one of the greatest players in Miami history, and I hate even talking about Dylan Sr., who's one of the greatest tailbacks in Miami history, because that diminishes Dylan Jr. You know what I mean? You get caught up, and it's such a great story, and you get caught. It's cool when the whole thing is cool, but then the kid's sitting there, and all anybody's ever talking about is the story. And we made certain in Dylan the second, I think will tell you, and I think his dad will tell you too. Like, we made certain that he knew his recruitment had nothing to do with granddad or dad. And we're going to go through our process. And at one point, I think even the dad was a little bit upset because we hadn't offered him, and other teams in our league had offered him. And I said, like, it would have been easy. Hey, somebody in our league's offer your kids. He's in Kansas City. We just throw an offer out to him. But our process is we always see kids play something live, something. And because you're in Kansas City, we know about your kid. Other schools in our league are just throwing out the offer to your kid. They've never even met your kid. We're going to fly out in spring, and we're going to see your kid do whatever he's doing in spring, whether it be track, whether it be baseball, whether it be football workouts. When we can go evaluate, we're going to evaluate your kid. And I said, we're not offering your kid because he's your kid. We're not offering because he's Sherman Smith's grandson. If we do end up offering, we're going to offer him because we think he can help us win MAC championships. And I think they felt good about that, and they understood that, hey, we weren't just going to throw an offer just to throw an offer to a good player who's an alumni kid. And we went out and we evaluated him in the spring, and we felt like he was a guy. And so I think it's hard sometimes to be the kid or the grandkid of somebody famous because the story always, and it should wind back to, hey, you're so-and-so, just like, Brett Gabbert deals with his brother's an NFL quarterback. So you don't go 3 sentences talking and somebody brings up, well, is the younger brother of Blaine Gabbert, So it's cool and it's awesome, but we also try never to take away from the kid and make sure we don't ever take a kid because Sherman Smith was his grandfather or Dylan Sr. was a great running back here. Like, that'll get you fired, Make sure you think he can help you win football games, and we certainly think Dylan Jr. can do that. But if you haven't seen the 30 for 30, I implore everybody to watch it because it's one of the greatest stories of all time.
Gabbert is one of a few kids in this class who not only received statewide honors as a player, but led, I guess, for lack of a better term, a team to a state championship. How important, how big is it for you to have players who are not only
I would say that's an
talented,
inaccurate
but
statement.
winners?
I'd say that's an inaccurate statement because a lot of these kids had, I guess maybe not state titles, but Hoban won the state title. Coleraine lost in the state title. Covcath lost in the state title. We talked on Bake Show earlier, like, there's great players from small schools. There's great players from schools that never win a game. You know, I've coached NFL players that went to high schools that went 1-9 and they never won, then they came to college. So, but if you can get players, to your point, if you can get players from the CBCs, from the Coleraines, from the Covcaths, from Fayro High School, won the state title in Pittsburgh, where Kobe Hilton's from where Matt Salbeck's from. Hoban's won 4 straight state titles. If you can get kids from those programs, from Carmel High School, lost in the states finals again this year. If you can get kids from those, from Indianapolis Cathedral, if you get kids from those types of programs, they're just so far ahead of getting prepared for college. Just like if you get a kid from a great school. Doesn't mean a kid from a not as highly touted academic school can't succeed in college. They just are further away from understanding what it's going to take. You get a kid from one of the top academic schools in any part of the country, they're going to be more ready for college. We know that. So it's the same with the athletes. Kid's been in Colerane's weight room. Is it going to be a step up in college? It's going to be a step up. Kid that's played the competition Colerane's played, or Carmel's played, or Fayro's played, or Hoban's played, or CBC's played. They're used to playing in big games. They're used to playing in pressure situations. So they're ahead of the other kids. Doesn't mean other kids can't catch them. Doesn't mean other kids can't pass. So we always talk about, hey, if everything's the same, if you can get them from the great program, and those programs are run just like college programs. So there's 365 days a year. I mean, there's no off season for those kids from all the programs that I'm talking about. They're used to that. Football is, yeah, we get some time at Christmas and we get some. I can play basketball, but if I'm not in another sport, we're training for the football, and all summer long we're doing 7-on-7s, and we're going to camps, and we have our summer workouts. So the better the higher program, the more they're used to winning, the more they're used to being in pressure situations, because you don't win state titles and they're Fayro, you know. They blew them out in the state title, but that's rare. They won 41-14 state title. That's you're really good if that happens. But they're used to playing in those big games and big moments and having success. That it's always a benefit. Always a benefit.
You also have 6 early enrollees coming in. How important is that to your earlier statement about how some of these kids are going to have to play?
Yeah. Obviously, it's a huge benefit they can. It shows what kind of student they are. It also helps us because we had less seniors a year ago. We could only take 19 because we were out of money. We were at 85, and now we can roll all 6 forwards, which now allows us to take 29. We can actually take 31. I still got 2 in my pocket, which is unbelievable. We got 29. I still got 2 scholarships out there for. If somebody's walking down the street that looks like they could help me win, we can offer them a scholarship. You never know. You find them and keep sending in the emails and the Twitters for us to look at, guys, because there's still somebody out there that can help us win. So it helps, and that helps those kids. They get in here and they get the college semester knocked out. And for kids that want to compete and play right away, they get a little. It is an advantage over the kids that are coming in June. I mean, they're going to be ahead of those other kids. So, but helps us for spring too, because you're always down numbers in the spring, and you get some more healthy bodies to run around and play spring practice. It's also a huge benefit for that reason.
What's the hardest position to evaluate, in your opinion, when you're going through this process?
I think defense is easy to evaluate. So anyone on offense, I think, is harder than defense. I think O-line is always a tough eval position because I think they're the worst players in high school. Like, I think there's wideouts in high school that are way ahead of offensive linemen. I think these kids grow so big nowadays, and they haven't caught up with their strength and their core strength. And to be that young and be 6'6" and control your body, like you're going to eventually be able to control it, to try to figure out which kids are going to develop into, you know. And a lot of times you grow so big and you're clumsy and you're awkward and you're the kid that kind of gets made fun of growing up, and you don't have the – with a kid that was faster than everybody in 3rd grade and then faster than everybody in high school, like he's going to go to college and just to run a go route and be really fast. I mean, James May runs 10.6. He's going to be able to run by guys his first day on college campus. Now, can he do all the receiver jobs? Maybe not, but he can be real fast. We already know he's real fast. I mean, 10.6 is fast. It doesn't matter if you're in junior high or you're in the NFL. You can roll. So I think it's harder to evaluate the big old linemen to figure out what they're going to become because they're further away from their finished product. I think quarterbacks are always hard because you know, sometimes these really good quarterbacks, if you get them from a great program, life's pretty easy. They drop back and there's this great pocket. And like you think back to your high school on some of the quarterbacks you missed on, and you think, he never got hit in high school. He played at Moeller. He played at this great program. They dropped back and they were out at halftime. Even like A.J. Mir, for instance, like, and I don't think we missed on A.J., but I'm saying he was out every time at the first half of Cov Cath. He was great. The surroundings were great. The line was great. The receivers were great. You know, now his first game for us, whenever that happens, it's not going to be like any game at Cov Cath. I mean, they won the state title game, you know, like, so he's going to drop back and play a Division I team, and it's going to be a lot fairer fight. And now, how does he react to those situations? You're always trying to say, and that's almost, you don't know until you put him out there. He gets hit a couple times and see what happens when he gets hit. Quarterbacks don't like to get hit a lot. So I'd say those are probably the two toughest.
Especially after Gardner got hurt last year, the wide receiving group seemed to be a little thin. Some of them did step up and were making some pretty good contributions by the end of the year, but it still looked a little bit on the thin side. Is that something that you're working on as a program to try and beef up,
Yes.
par with what you've got coming in here? And would it, since you've got 2 Scullies left, is it something that if something jumped up out?
No, you're on it. I'm good, very good. Yeah, no, we took 3 kids, and we're not going to put the pressure on those kids playing right away. But if they could, we were thin. There's no doubt. The kids we did played really good football, and you know, played through a lot of pain and knew there wasn't really a lot behind them. I think there's other kids in our program that can and need to step up, and there's a huge opportunity and a huge need. And then you got the 3 kids, and then if 2 of them are left, I wouldn't say one's earmarked for a wide receiver, but we would not turn down another good wide receiver. I think your assessment's pretty good. I would say you're right on the mark there with everything you said.